Okay, so until now we discussed which rooms are obligated mezuzah, as well as which doorways are going to become obligated mezuzah. And now we're going to discuss once we've gotten past that, and we've established that the room is obligated mezuzah, and it's a proper doorway, where exactly does one place the mezuzah itself? So the Shulchan Aruch begins. It says that first of all, one should put it in a shofar, so some type of reed. It should have some type of protection. We don't want to leave it open. And one makes a bracha upon the placement of the mezuzah itself. Asher kedishon mezuzah, Hashem commanded likavot mezuzah. And the Shulchan Aruch says the bracha is not at the time of writing mezuzah, but rather the mitzvah is to the place of the mezuzah, and therefore the bracha is made on the place of the mezuzah. But it's important to remember that if a person's going to a new house, he doesn't make a new bracha for each and every mezuzah. He does one mezuzah, and that will exempt the rest of the mezuzahs. So that's what one should do. The Gra actually was against having some type of casing around it, but it seems like the custom is we do prefer to put a casing, especially because it's going to, otherwise it might become ruined. Okay, where should one put it? So the halach is that person should put it within a tefach of the outside. So if let's say your person's coming from the outdoor, it's supposed to be the outermost tefach. That's in order to, as we mentioned, to provide protection for the whole house. However, if one did not do that, if one put it even further in, technically it's still yotzei, but again, ideally best not to. How high should it be? So what we do is we split the height of the doorpost into 3. So you measure however much it is. So let's say it's 60 inches. So you divide it into 3, so that's 20 inches each, and you put it on the bottom of the top third. Okay, so if that's 60 inches, you measure 20 inches down, and you put the mezuzah 20 inches down. However, let's say it's a very tall doorway. So usually most doorways, that's more or less on your wavelength, right? But let's say it's going to be a very tall doorway. So if it's going to do it the third, so you're not going to be able to see it, you're not going to be able to touch it. So then it seems like the minhag is to put it against one's shoulder, and that's where it should go. There's actually an interesting question. What about for children? Let's say you have a cheder, let's say you have a school for young children. Should you put it on the proper place, which is the top third, or should you put it against them? It seems like most poskim say that when it comes to chinuch, this idea we find in many places. When it comes to chinuch, the proper chinuch means to proper train the children. It means to train them in the proper way of doing halacha. So it would be improper to train them to not do halacha correctly, and therefore one should put it in the top third, and they'll learn to jump a little higher. Yeah.
It's not ma'akiv if you do. It's not a problem.
Which part? The tefach part or the
bottom part?
No.
So what's the Havamina to say by chinuch you would put it in the bottom part?
Right. I mean, perhaps if it's for chinuch, then maybe you would. Yeah, you're right. It shouldn't be done like that. There were some places that seem to do it. I've seen it before. Right? Have you ever seen it before?
No.
Okay. So good. So they're doing the right thing. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Now I think we may have mentioned this before regarding the bracha. So if you take it down to check it. So if you're going to take it down to check it, we do not put it on.
Rabbi, what about between like a kitchen and a living room, in a dining room?
We're going to, which way?
Yeah.
Yeah, we're going to get, that's going to be the next halach.
Oh.
That's going to be the next halach. How do we figure out which way to put it? Because we know you put it on the right way, but, right, depending which direction you're coming from, the right's going to be on one way or the other. So that's going to be the next halach. Okay, let's say you take down the mezuzah to check. So generally we do not make a new bracha. However, let's say it was pasul. If it was invalid, hopefully it wasn't. Right? Hopefully everyone should make sure they have good kosher mezuzahs. But let's say it was. So obviously when you're putting up the mezuzah again, so you're putting up again and what a bracha should be made. Additionally, let's say a mezuzah chas v'shalom falls down. So if a mezuzah falls down, so this would be similar to if somebody who's wearing the halacha is, let's say somebody's wearing a talis, there's an interesting halacha. If somebody's wearing a talis, right? And they need to take it off, they're in chakras, they need to use the restroom. So when they put it back on, they don't make a new bracha. Because they had in mind that they're going to put it back on. However, let's say the talis slips off. So then we say, well, you didn't really have in mind for it to put it back on after it slipped off because you weren't planning on slipping off, and therefore a new bracha would be made if it slips off entirely. If it partially and it still remains somewhat on, no new bracha is made, but if it entirely slips off, a new bracha is made. So the same halacha applies to mezuzah, that if a mezuzah falls down, so then a new bracha would be made upon putting it up. And tomorrow, I guess, we're going to discuss which right side, right? We put it on in the right entrance, but which right entrance? So the outside door, that's pretty obvious, right? There's only one entrance into the house. But what about from room to room? Which side is the entering? Which side is the exit? I guess. Yeah.
Mezuzah's partially hanging. So if people put like a nail on top and a nail on the bottom, one nail fell.
Oh, interesting.
Would that require any bracha?
That's interesting. That's because that's a good point. Yeah, thank you for reminding me. Did we get the year? No, that's going to be later. But the Shulchan Aruch does say you're supposed to be. It has to be very firmly in place. Person's supposed to bang in it with nails. So you're asking, let's say one nail came out. I think that would probably be similar to still, like the talus that partially fell off. I would assume in that case, no new bracha made. Only when it entirely fell off.